Over the last few years, I've had several opportunities to help multi-millionaires purchase multi-million-dollar luxury motor coaches, and I'm honored that some of these folks would trust my opinion this much, but I have had an opportunity to visit the best of the best motor coach manufacturers and dealers in the United States over the last several years. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have found the latest and greatest river landings in La Belle, Florida, Palm Beach Motorcoach Resort, Desert Shores in California,
Polson Motorcoach Resort in Polson, Montana. It is a beautiful day today here at Hearthside Grove in Petoskey, Michigan.
It's an honor to be hanging out with Frank Koenigsetter, VP of Liberty Coach. We're with Grant Kernan, President of Newell Coach, Jimmy Adams, CEO of Featherlight Coaches, Casey Tubman, President of Newmar.
We founded Country Campers, which turned into Country Coach.
Tile 4, John Walker, the legend Dean Locks. Today we're hanging out in Michigan with Bradley Twait. I'm just blown away at how tight the turning radius is. This is incredible. I'm looking forward to showing the folks all of the details at how all the coach comes together. And we have been sponsored by the best of the best motor coach companies. But today I wanted to make a video letting you know how I would advise you if you came to me wanting to buy a luxury motor coach. And I do offer a consulting service on my website, rvingwithandrewsteele.com. If you want to chat with me about your luxury motor coach needs, whether you're buying or selling, there's a lot of advice that I've helped share with people to help them through that process. It's an unbiased opinion. I don't receive any commissions from any of the motorhome dealers or manufacturers that we represent. We charge a marketing fee to make these videos, but when you're scheduling a consult call with me, you're getting my unbiased opinion. So today I want to talk about what questions I will ask you when you're purchasing a luxury motor coach. And let's sit down inside of one of these coaches here. We've got a little bit of everything here at the Motor Coach store. We appreciate them giving us the opportunity to come film all of their beautiful motor coaches here. They've got everything from the Prevos to the Newell coaches. Here's a brand new body style Prevo 9660. And in my consult calls, there's a lot of little, talking about body style change, there's a lot of little, stuff that I have my ear to the ground that some people may have not been able to watch all of my videos. And there's little stuff that can, affect pricing and values of coaches quite a bit. But first of all, I need to know how you're going to use the motorhome. So, some people I may advise a Prevo like this Millennium behind us, or some people I may advise a Newell coach. So the first few things that we need to take into consideration, number one is budget, but let's take a look inside of this beautiful coach. Now, if you have an unlimited budget, there is a good chance I will advise a Newell coach, but some people I may be advising a Prevo coach. So the first thing I would need to know to help advise you on what motorhome to buy is how many nights a year are you going to be sleeping in the coach? How many miles a year are you going to be driving? How many people and pets are you staying with? How are you going to be using this coach? What region are you using this coach? And I want to give you a couple hypothetical situations too. And I'll make another video. If you want to answer these questions in the comments below, share with me, how many nights a year, what your budget is, and even if it's a lower budget, in the $100,000 and up range, I can advise you as well. But let me know how many miles a year you're going to drive it, how many people or pets are going to be staying in the coach. How long at a time are you going to be staying in the coach? You're going to be staying in it a couple days at a time? Or are you going to be staying in a month at a time? Also, what is important for you in the way that you use your motor coach? And another thing that's important is where geographically are you going to be using the coach? So who's going to be doing the service work? What type of trips do you have planned? And where are you going to have access to people that'll work on the coach? And we're going to talk about a lot of different motorhomes today, but regardless of what motorhome is best for you, I definitely recommend upgrading the mattress in any pre-owned motorhome that you buy. And we just got great news that we got a 30% off discount code for you guys using the coupon code Andrew Steele at rvmattress.com to get your new Brooklyn bedding mattress. I've had my Brooklyn Brooklyn Bedding Firm Aurora mattress for several years now and get the best rest I've ever gotten. And the best part about Brooklyn Bedding mattress is they come in all different shapes and sizes and firmnesses. So if you have a bunk coach, if you have an RV king or different size RV mattresses, they have them in stock for you. And then you can choose your firmness, your style, and they have a lifetime limited warranty, free shipping within the US, 120 night sleep trial, and they ship it directly to your front door where it's very easy to unbox. You don't have to mess with, going to a mattress store and trying to tie a mattress down on the roof of your car. So definitely worth treating yourself to a new mattress in your current motorhome, or if you get a new motorhome, definitely worth upgrading to a Brooklyn Bedding mattress. We greatly appreciate RVmattress.com and Brooklyn Bedding for sponsoring the channel. The new Newell coach is about $2.7 million new. This is a 2022 and it's available at actually I think it might have a pending sale already at the Motorcoach store for $1,777,777. Now, if someone came to me and told me that maybe they were in the West Coast or Midwest and they're gonna be staying maybe at Motorcoach Country Club for 3 or 4 months in the winter time, they might take a trip up to Scottsdale. They might make another trip up to, wine country in Napa, maybe a run to Vegas or 2 over the winter time. And then in the summertime, maybe they're jumping up to Polson, Montana, to Polson Motorcoach Resort, and they're gonna stay there for 2 or 3 months, or go up to Hearthside Grove for 2 or 3 months. And maybe they're putting, 10 or 15, maybe 20,000 miles a year on their coach, and they want the most living space, and they want the nicest possible finishes, maybe a taller guy where they're gonna be close to the Oklahoma area for service at times. So if they do need some stuff fixed, they're in proximity to Oklahoma, or they're in proximity to where the Newell coach service vans are gonna be. I know they have service vans up at Hearthside certain times a year. I've seen them at Motorcoach Country Club. Something like that, I'm gonna advise someone on a Newell coach. Now, there's also a lot of situations where some people may have just a few different things, and I'd advise them in a brand new Liberty coach that's, $3 million. Let's take a look at some other Prevos here, and I wanna tell you, what type of reasons I would advise you a Prevo instead of a Newell. Now, some people may want a Newell, some people may want a Prevo, and also, a Newmar King Air or Newmar Essex, London Air, Dutch Star may be the right fit for someone, even if they have a lot of money. The Prevo versus Newell question is a question that's been happening for a long time. And there's different Prevo converters. So Marathon Coach is a very well-known Prevo conversion company out of Coburg, Oregon. They're probably the largest Prevo conversion company. Those of you that follow the channel know I'm a huge fan of Liberty Coach. They're very rare. They're kind of like a Rolls-Royce or a Bugatti. They're only making about 12 to 14 Liberty coaches a year, where I think Marathon's cranking out about 24 to 26. So, the Liberty coaches are gonna be a little more exclusive. And for me, I'm a huge fan of Dean Laux, the world-renowned artist that paints the Liberty coaches. Their paint jobs are just on another level. I mean, they're $150,000 to $200,000 just for the paint job. And I know these paint jobs on these other Marathons are pretty cool, and they're getting up there. But, for me, that exterior presentation, especially these new artist series, there's just nothing like it, just very identifiable. And the interiors of the Liberty coaches, the Marathons are beautiful, and they've got some cool floor plans. And I think these are about $3 million new, and I think the Liberty coaches are right around $3 million new. Now, this is a double slide. I know Marathon does make some X model coaches. Liberties make the H's. I think as far as refinement, when you look at a 20, 30-year-old coach, nothing is more refined than Liberty. I'd say, Marathon's right behind it. It's kind of like a Bentley, where the Liberty is gonna be that Rolls-Royce or that Bugatti, just that little step up, the overall design. And I will say that, over like 20, 30 years, the Newells do hold up really well, but they're just not quite as refined as the Liberties or the Marathons. But I will say, like, the carpets in the bays of the Liberty coach, I don't know why, but when we look at 20, 30-year-old carpets, they just seem to really hold up well over time. The bays in the Marathons are more of hard surfaces usually. They're really timeless as well. But sometimes, like, the carpets wear, you see a little bit of wear after like 10 or 20 years. It takes a long time to show that wear. Now, what I like about the Prevos is you can get in a double slide. There's a few non-slides out there. You can get triple quad slides. Now, the H's don't have as much headroom. So if someone was traveling more miles per year and maybe, just running it with the slide rooms in, I may recommend a Prevost. Or if someone's not quite as tall and they don't care about headroom as much and they need more bay space, the Prevost is going to make a lot more sense than the Newell. But if you want the Prevost and you're running a lot of miles a year and maybe the service centers for Prevost are more in your network, the X3s have a lot more headroom. You lose a little bit of bay space, but then you have that timeless stainless down the side of the coach. Just nothing like it. For me, it takes a little bit less time to run the slide rooms out in a double slide. Also, a double slide is going to be a lot more livable while you are going down the road. Now, Newell, you can custom build a double slide or a non-slide Newell if you do want to. You don't see a lot of them on the resale market. Newell builds about 26 to 28 coaches a year, I believe. Every once in a while, we'll see like a non-slide or like an executive style coach that's less of a motorhome. But on the pre-owned market, you're gonna have a much better chance of finding a double slide Prevost. But I mean, here, these are quad slide Prevosts here. We've got two of them. This is a new low-key coach, so this is gonna be a newer converter. If someone really likes all the cool tech stuff and the cool design and they wanna get in with a new company that's really trying to make a name for themselves in the Prevost industry, low-key coach may be another option for someone. I think we had an Emerald. I think it has a pending sale. There was a beautiful quad slide Emerald here. Now, a lot of people out there really like Emerald. I know the technicians here really like Emerald. Wow, there's a really nice Prevost rolling in here. We're gonna have to take a look at that. Sorry guys, my ADD kicks in. I'm like a kid in the candy store here at the Motorcoach store because we always have the best of the best motor coaches coming, and that's a really cool Prevost we're gonna go take a quick peek at. But Emerald luxury coaches out of Stephenville, Texas. They're built to RVIA code, and I hear the technicians say over and over how easy they are to work on. Some of the Marathons and the Liberties are a little more proprietary, where you may have to take it back to Liberty or to Marathon to get work done on it, where the Emeralds, a lot of times you have a toolbox and you're a little bit handy. It may be a little more simple, easy to get to. And Outlaw Conversions is John Walker's horse trailer company before he started Emerald, and they're just a class act operation. And I think Emerald's designs are getting at the top of the food chain. And I've also got to talk about Millennium and Featherlight are the other two Prevost converters. All of them have their own advantages. Millennium does some really cool custom stuff. They're out of Sanford, Florida. And also Featherlight, if you're in the Northeast, I was talking to a gentleman yesterday in the Northeast, Featherlight is out of Suffolk, Virginia. So if you're looking for a high-end coach over that $2-3 million range and you're in the Northeast, Featherlight's gonna really make sense. They do some really cool custom stuff as well. And if you're north of the border in Canada, Low-Key Coach is built in Canada. That may be the best option for you, but check out this Prevost outside here, guys. This was the first coach I ever filmed at the Motorcoach store. I titled the video Basement Bedroom. I think got over 4 million views. That was the first video I ever did at the Motorcoach store. That's a Prevost Featherlight. Really cool video, really cool to see that coach. Now, I believe that coach was $499, $999 new. So, not all multimillionaires have a $3 million budget for a luxury motor coach. You almost have to be in that, 50 to 100 millionaire net worth to be purchasing these $3 million motor coaches, because usually people have several houses, they may have an airplane already, they may have the boat, the cars, all the toys. But if you're trying to save a little bit of money and still have a large budget for a luxury motor coach, there's options like the 4Travel Realm here, the 4Travel Presidential. Now, this 22, I believe, is gonna be $599, $999. So that's $600,000. They're built out of Nacogdoches, Texas. And then this 23 Presidential, I believe, is $755,555. Really cool coach. And their biggest competitor is going to be the Newmar on the Spartan K4 chassis. So if you're maybe only driving like 5,000 or 10,000 miles a year, and one of these Newell coaches or one of these Prevosts may be a little overkill. It's kind of like if you're vacuuming out your house once a year, do you really need like a super industrial commercial grade vacuum? Or is there a nice vacuum that you could buy at Target that's probably gonna get the job done? But if you try to use that vacuum you bought at Target to go vacuum out office buildings every day, it's just not gonna keep up like these industrial machines. So, if you're only driving maybe 5,000, 10,000 miles a year, You know, Newmar and 4Travel are going to be kind of the next step down below that Prevost 4Travel. And again, you know, if you're in the Texas area, you may sway more towards 4Travel, or if floor plan is really important to you. You know, sometimes people are willing to travel, or they have repair shops that can work on any coach to them. But 4Travel and Newell Coach both have a floor plan in the 45-foot range that is really a game changer. It's the 2 full bathroom bunk coach, and this Newell actually is a bunk coach. This is $1 million, $999, $999, and I'm kind of going a little all over the place with me. I appreciate you guys following along with my ADHD here, but this is 2 full showers in this coach, and then we have bunks. So for some families, they just may need this floor plan. They want the most living space in the Newell. They'll pay a driver to take it to Newell if they need, you know, or they'll just utilize the resources in their area. And Newell does have a lot of resources too, you know, across the country between Cummins and different service centers. And even the Motorcoach store in Bradenton, Florida is an awesome service center. But I've always been a big believer that, you know, no one is going to be, you know, quite as efficient as the factories are. The guys that build these coaches, if they're the same ones working on them, a lot of times they've just got all the parts and pieces right there so they can be super efficient in getting stuff repaired. And then, you know, they have the guys that built the coach right there that they can ask questions. A lot of communication happening. And I know Newell Coach has a lot of the people that build them have to work in production before they work in service. So they understand how to build them before they're working on them and keeping them going down the road. Now let's talk a little bit more about production motorhomes and what's important and what different options you guys have. So the big production motorhome companies are going to be, you know, Newmar, Tiffin, Integra. Back in the day, they had Country Coach there. Country Coach was out of Coburg, Oregon. And there's some great resources in the Pacific Northwest between Oregon Motorcoach Center and Premier RV of Oregon to get work on country coaches. So sometimes if someone's in that, you know, these are usually in that more $200,000 budget, but some cool high quality coaches. If you live in the Pacific Northwest and you don't mind a more aged interior, those country coaches may be a good option for you. Now, you know, Newmar is one of my go-tos. We just had a chance to spend some time with Casey Tubman, president of Newmar, and his Newmar executive team. Just a very impressive operation out of Napanee, Indiana. And one of the big questions that comes, you know, in choosing a production motorhome is the engine size. A lot of the guys want that big Cummins X15 with a 605 horsepower. You know, if you're towing a big trailer, or maybe towing a truck with a motorcycle in it, or you like to be able to pass those semis, really nice to have that 605. Now in 2014 model year was the 500 horsepower Cummins. In 2013 model year, the Mountaineer was still the 450, but there's a lot of coaches like the Dutch Star, the Integra Anthem, the Integra Aspire that are gonna have the Cummins 450. Also, the Tiffin Allegro bus is gonna have the 450. There is a 605 horsepower option. I think the Zephyr is going to have a 605, or if you want to go, you know, into Integra, the Cornerstone has the 605 horsepower, where the Anthem has the 450. And you know, that's big news recently. Integra is going to be moving their diesel production to the Tiffin facility in Indiana. They are both owned by the same parent company, Thor. So it's all going to be done under one roof. So, you know, these Integras that were built in Indiana, we'll see what changes when they start being built in Red Bay, Alabama. But that's going to be the Aspire, the Anthem, and the Cornerstone. From what I've heard and what I've read, are going to now be manufactured alongside the Tiffins. Now, sometimes I have console calls where I'm talking to people and I throw them in a totally different direction. A few years ago, I talked to a gentleman that was having a large home built in Puerto Rico. I think he had been extremely successful, and for tax reasons, there's a much lower tax rate in Puerto Rico, and he was having a home built there, but wanted to buy a Prevost bus just to put it on a piece of property for a couple years while his home was being built. And I right away said, buddy, I've got bad news for you. This makes no sense at all. And I advised him in a totally different direction. I think he ended up buying one of those Anderson Estates. It's almost like a huge mobile semi-trailer. So if you're just purchasing an RV to just plop down on a piece of land, a Newell Coach or a Prevost may not be the best for you. A towable may be the best for you, like a fifth wheel or a travel trailer. And a lot of times you can get pretty nice rigs up into that $200,000 to $300,000 range. You know, you've got DRV Suites, Luck. Then you get into like New Horizons and Starcraft, I believe. Builds a lot of trailers for like the carnival business, so really robust. They put a lot of miles on them. And I think Outlaw Conversions does some pretty robust built trailers if you're driving a lot of miles. But if you just want to basically put down a temporary residence on a piece of land, these do not make sense because these are luxury motor coaches. They're made to be driven. You're going to be maintaining either a bus or like a semi chassis, whether you're using the coach or not. You know, every month those tires are going to get a month older on the date codes. So if you have it sit for a couple years, you're losing money on those tires and, you know, paying for maintenance that you really don't need. And, you know, the same thing goes with if you're just going like a few hundred miles, maybe 2,000 miles a year, some people I advise to get like a gas Class A. I love walking around behind all these beautiful Prevos, but if we switch around right over here, here's an open road. And the Motorcoach store does touch some of these coaches and on trade sometime, and they still go through their world-class detail department here, their world-class PDI process. But, you know, say you maybe go to a game to go tailgate, or you maybe drive 100 miles to go fishing or hang out at a lake for the weekend. The diesel pusher motorhomes like this big Anthem might be a little bit overkill. You're still, you know, maintaining. You've got the tag axle, you've got a diesel engine, diesel generator, you've got an aqua hot that's got to be serviced. So this Ford F53 chassis that this Tiffin Open Road is on is going to be a lot more cost friendly on maintenance. These tires are going to be a lot smaller, so when you do go to replace your tires, it's not going to be nearly as expensive as a diesel pusher. So I'd love to hear some more, you know, hypothetical situations and make some videos on the current inventory here at the Motorcoach store at how I would advise you if I was in your shoes. So if any of you want to leave a comment, let me know, you know, exactly what your circumstances are. I would love to hear some of your stories and different ways that you want to use your motorhome, what your budget is, you know, how many miles a year you're going to drive, how many nights a year you're going to sleep in the coach, how many people are going to be staying in it, what's important to you. And we'll make some follow-up videos on some of the best comments on what I would advise you to purchase. And again, if you want to schedule a consult call, we'll leave that in the description below, rvingwithandrewsteele.com, and I'd love to chat with you about your motorhome needs. I greatly appreciate all of you subscribing and hope you're all having a great day. Thanks again.